Hello there, and welcome to the second episode of the VictorPrep Vocab podcast for GRE and anything else you want to use it for, I suppose. I'm sorry I have no jingle. I listen to some other podcasts, and everyone has their own fancy jingle. I'm assuming that perhaps something like that may come in time. If people actually listen to the podcast and demand a jingle, I may have to try and work out how one goes about getting a jingle. So, yeah, that is to look forward to sometime in the future. Anyway, let's get started. So, in our previous episode, which was episode 1, we covered 4 words, and I'm now going to very quickly go over them. And I'm going to go over them slowly and let you think about what the meaning of them is in your mind first, before I tell you what the meaning is. So the 4 words we did last time were euphemism, endemic, desiccate, and idiosyncrasy. Can you remember what those words mean? That's euphemism, endemic, desiccate, and idiosyncrasy. Now, I'll go over them myself. Hopefully, just hearing those words has rung some bells in your minds. Euphemism is a nicer way of saying a bad sort of thing. So, like saying I slept with her instead of saying we had sex. Endemic is something which is natural to or characteristic of a certain people or place. Can also mean something like native or indigenous. So, the classic example is some sort of disease which is particular to a certain area. That disease is always found in that area, like malaria being endemic to the tropics. Desiccate. Desiccate means to dry thoroughly or to dry up. The classic example being various foods that we eat that are desiccated, like grapes being dried up. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Raisins being dried up grapes or desiccated grapes. And our final word is idiosyncrasy, which is a unique habit or mannerism that is usually unique to a certain individual. That is an idiosyncrasy. So now we have covered the previous week's words, and I hope that wasn't even needed because you remember them. We're going to start with the new words for episode 2. Our 4 new words are vim, Kindle, Molt, and antipathy. And as we go through these episodes, I want you to, over time, think about some of the words that we learn and the way they sound and the parts of the word that exist. And over time, you'll come to a better understanding of trying to understand what a word might mean just by the components of the word and how it sounds. And with the experience you get with this podcast, you will get an idea of what a word means, even without knowing it, just by seeing the building blocks of which that word is constructed. And we'll go through some examples over time, and I'll point out different word roots and parts of words that have a meaning. So let's start with our first word, which is vim. So vim means, quite simply, energy or enthusiasm. So an example would be, when you're young, you're often full of vim. It can almost be synonymous with a word like vigorous. And vigorous is a great example because both words begin with V-I. And vim is spelled V-I-M, by the way. So think vim, think vigorous. Think vital, life, energy. Often all these sorts of words begin with V-I. That word root is often used with life, energy. So when you see the vim, take off the M, think think vitality, vigorous, energy, vitality. This should be a pretty easy one, I think, for most people to remember, just because that vi is so associated with energy and with many other words that begin with vi. Another example actually is vitamin. And we all know that vitamins are something that we must eat because we need them for life. If you don't have all your vitamins, eventually you will die. So when you think Vim, you think vitamin. We need vitamins for life. Vim is associated with life, energy, enthusiasm. That is our first word. Our second word is Kindle. Kindle, Kindle. And the first and most basic meaning is to start a fire, to cause something to begin burning. So I kindled a fire when I was in the Scouts using bits of paper, logs, and some matches. Kindle also has other meanings which are very related to the idea of starting a fire, which are more metaphorical meanings. So you can kindle excitement in people. So it basically means, in this sense, to stir something up, to begin something, to rouse emotions, to excite. When you kindle something in people, you could kindle an excitement for learning as a teacher, for example, or you could kindle enthusiasm for your high school football team. If you're a cheerleader, if you were such an amazing cheerleader, you could kindle excitement in the crowd, for example. A way of remembering kindle could be thinking kiss. Think of that K-I, kindle, kiss. Kiss, an amazing kiss could kindle strong emotion inside someone. So that is our second word, which is kindle. Our third word is malt, which the Americanized spelling is M-O-L-T, the British spelling is M-O-U-L-T, and molt means to cast away or shed your feathers if you're a bird, but molt also applies to any animal that loses its skin, loses part of itself. I suppose with snakes it could be used, with other reptiles that molt away their skin, which will be then replaced with some new growth. Now, I was trying to think of a way of remembering what this word meant, some mnemonic or something to remember it, and it's actually really, really difficult to think of something. I thought of mold, but that doesn't really work very well. Then I thought of mutant or mutate, maybe, because malt, the origin of the word actually is from Latin, mutare. I'm not sure if that's the right way of pronouncing it, which means to change. And that's where we get the word mutant as well. So if you can remember malt, you can maybe try and think mutant, and maybe think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They changed in some way. So to molt is from the word to change in some way. In this case, you're molting, you're changing, you're losing your feathers, or you're losing your old skin to become something new and different and changed. So molt comes from mutant, mutare in Latin. So maybe you can use that to try and remember it. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but you can try and use that as a way of remembering it. So this little spiel I just went on made me think of another way of remembering this word, which is actually molten, meaning liquid or flowing, because a lot of people know the word molten because it's associated with molten lava, as in flowing liquid lava, and that is something that is changing. Molten lava is always moving and changing. So if you can remember that, you can think molt means to change in some way, and it's changing, the animal is changing, it's losing its feathers, it's losing its skin. Our fourth and last word is antipathy. Antipathy. That's spelt A-N-T-I, anti, pathy, P-A-T-H-Y, antipathy. Now, that means a deep-seated dislike, an extremely strong repugnance for. It's quite a strong word, meaning almost hate. So an example of its usage might be, I felt antipathy for the man I saw kicking his dog in the street. Now, how might you remember this word? Well, first of all, think about this. It starts with anti. Now, you probably know already that anti means something that's against. Some people consider themselves to be anti-communist. They are against communism. Or you could think of the word antibiotic. That means against biotic or against bacteria in this sense. So antipathy means against or negative to something. Now, the second part of the word is pathy. You could think of pathetic, because if something is pathetic, the meaning of the word is we feel some pity for it, we have some feeling for it. So you could think of antipathy or antipathy meaning against feeling. So if something's against feeling, it's a negative thing. We feel something negative towards the target. Now, that is our 4 words for this episode. I hope you have a good understanding of their meaning. I'm going to read them back to you, and as I'm reading them, I want you to think of your example sentence for each word. It's really, really important that you always think of some example sentence of your own, because that proves to yourself that you really understand the meaning. So our words are Vim, Kindle, Malt, and Antipathy. And to finish off, I'm going to read a sentence concerning each word, and I want you to think in your mind which word I'm talking about. I won't use the word itself. When I was younger, I was in the Boy Scouts, and I remember, along with one of my friends, trying to start a fire, and we were using a flint and steel to start the fire, which is a really old school way of trying to start a fire, and it was taking us forever to get this fire started. On a vacation one time, I saw a snake rubbing itself against a rock, and I realized that it was trying to help rub its old skin away. When I was in college, there was this guy who was sort of a friend of a friend, but for whatever reason, I could tell that he had some sort of deep-seated dislike of me, and it was something I never could quite understand why he disliked me so much. Quite a mystery to me, really. My younger cousin, he's only about 10 now, but he has so much energy, always running around, riding his bike, running down the stairs, running up the stairs, all over the house. He's full of vigour. So I hope all of you worked out which word I was talking about for each example, and by now I think you should have a really good picture of our 4 words of today. And so I'm going to sign off this episode. That was about 13 and a half minutes long. That's still too long, I think. So if you do think it's too long, please get in touch with me. Please send me an email. My email address is sam.fold@gmail.com. And my Twitter handle is just @samfold. That's just Sam, S-A-M, fold, like fold at poker, F-O-L-D, so I'm @samfold. So any other comments, questions, concerns, if you think I'm wrong about something or right about something, or you just want to say hello, please do contact me. I'm very friendly, and I like talking about this stuff. That's why I'm doing it. So yeah, please get in touch. Thank you very much, everyone, and good luck with your learning. Bye-bye.